Welcome to Conversations with Toi, a blogcast tackling life one episode at a time. This is the time to air out life's craziest moments. This space is all about speaking about life's hang-ups and ways in which we can leave better than when we started. Topics are all about ways we can find space to be better in life, love, mental space, and health.
Happy Friday. I hope that you've had the most amazing week. Listen, Linda, listen. I know that I have been gone for a week, but listen, lean in. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing and I'm going to tell you what I've been up to, and it's all good. I'm super grateful to be here with you for another podcast, for another week to talk about all the good things that have been going on. And with that being said, hello. I am happy now. I have been gone for a week. I was dealing with a death of my aunt on my biological father's side. So doing some grieving, and then I ended up getting sick. So there was no way I was coming to the podcast with dealing with the flu and all those things. I wasn't about to do it. And so now that I'm feeling a little bit better, my voice is stronger. I'm not sleepy and tired and drained. I'm here. I'm able to be here in my fullest self. And so that is what I am going to do. We're going to talk about a lot of things that's been going on in these internet streets, because there's been a lot that's been going on. And because we had so much going on, we have to just kind of do a little catch up on what's been happening. One of the biggest stories we're going to be talking about, of course, is the weather, because the storm is a brewing. It's coming, hitting from Texas all the way to New England. And so a lot of states are going to be involved. Let me just say this very much so. If you are not being touched by this storm, glory be to God. I love that for you. You should probably pray for all others that will be affected by this, because all travel is going to be affected this weekend. If you are traveling anywhere, I'm going to probably suggest that you get somewhere and sat down somewhere, like my mother would say, because it's going to be a mess trying to get back and forth if you're trying to travel by train, plane, and even car. If you're traveling, especially with the snow that's coming, we're supposed to see significant snow hitting here in the Philadelphia and surrounding areas. So again, I just want to preface that, we might want to consider just a little bit about the weather. That's all I'm saying. And I'll talk a little bit more about the prep that I've been doing, some things I want to suggest, because with it being Friday, I feel like you need to be very much aware of the little things that you may not be considering or thinking about. But there's been a lot happening on these internet streets. Minnesota has literally lost their mind by the death of Miss Renee. And I am very much appalled, but not shocked at some of the responses. And I think the biggest of the responses just has to do with just the foolishness that I'm seeing with people who who are just sitting here with like a blind eye, like it doesn't affect me. They are literally, arresting children, like kidnapping children. And I get it. Not everybody is a parent. And I'm going to say this, and I've said this plenty of times as a person who does have 3 children, because I didn't even give you my welcome, all the things. But I will say this, even if I didn't have children, or if you don't have children, I don't think that it's amiss that you need to feel obligated to have kids to feel a sense of like despair. But watching children cry or not know where their parents is has to be one of the worst things that somebody could feel. So I don't understand why, as a human being, just as a normal human being, that does not tickle or pull at your heartstrings. I would love to see if there was truly people who were causing violence and they were not supposed to be in this country and they were being taken away. We could have a conversation about removal, but we're talking about people who have lived in the United States. Most of them are United States citizens. Some of them don't even fit the criteria of what their alleged plan is. And now the point that I've been hearing, like, people need to start walking around with their identification to say that they're United States citizens. When did we get here? I mean, I know when we got here, but we were never supposed to be here. And it's sad that we have to keep reminding people of that, because it's like it's like in a spirit of forgetfulness. Like we just don't know that this is not supposed to be a thing. So again, I feel like America and the world has lost their mind in certain ways. And I really don't even want to blame the world, because I feel like parts of the world are so standing in solidarity that this mess has got to stop. My question is always going to be to the people who voted him in. The people who said, oh, I didn't know he was going to do that. I didn't know he was going to do that. I was just standing up for abortion rights and I didn't know that he was going to do that. You got to think about the fact that you got to learn how to really use discernment when it comes to things. Like, first of all, you didn't really need discernment, but in case you thought your spidey senses needed a touch, remember that they gave the blueprint about everything that they were going to do. And so this is not a shock for those who can do basic reading. If you could do basic reading, in my opinion, then you would have known that, hey, this is actually a thing, and this is going to be a thing, and this is probably something we should be concerned about. But in true fashion, no one wanted to be concerned about it, not one person. And so because of concern, the lack of concern, all the things that took place are there. Now this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with all kinds of problems with, we're trying to get rid of these people that shouldn't be here. We're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this, we're doing that. And it's causing problems for everyone. I get tired of, sometimes I get frustrated. I try not to allow it to exhaust me, but I get frustrated when I turn on the internet and I come onto social media and I'm seeing all these different stories. And of course, everybody wants to be like, that's fake media. You can claim fake media to a certain degree. There's a lot of things that are AI generated. And I honestly feel at this point, they made AI come into play at such as a time as now, just so they can stand on it's not real, just to make sure that they could get their agenda across. If that was to be, I promise you, I would not in any circumstance not be like, oh, I don't know how that could have happened. No, I can see it. I actually could see it. I literally could. So it's a little frustrating from time to time to see the things that are continuously going on every 2.3 seconds. It literally is, because it's like people are acting as if they're just unaware that these things exist. And I will always use my voice, always use my platform to say these things are happening. You can't have people getting killed on the street and just say, well, that's not a thing. It's AI generated. Not everything is AI generated. And the sad part is they want us to get to the point where we don't know what's real and what's fake. But the reality of it is that this is touching real people's lives. This is becoming a real issue for a lot of people. And until it touches home, people will continue to go on as status quo, as if nothing has happened. This is causing people to lose. I mean, at this point, I know a lot of people say, but we can't mix politics in, and you shouldn't be fighting over politics, and you should allow people to have their belief system and do the things that they do. But the reality of it is that your politics does govern who you are as a person. To sit back and to have voted for a person who has no care and concern for children, who, amongst all the other things that's been going on, has just been causing and wreaking havoc across the nation. I mean, some folks was just barely being able to eat. They lost jobs, or they had their jobs derailed for months at a time. And it's like, I don't understand how we want to get behind that. Because what am I supposed to get behind that? What am I supposed to do with that type of information when you're living in a situation where you're literally living around a dictator? Everything that's been happening is literally moving us away further from democracy, and is putting us in a situation where dictatorship will become the norm, because that's what it wants. That way he can control all the things that are going on, and then he can put his agendas in play. And if you don't like it, I mean, honestly, it's going to get to the point where our freedom of speech is already being pushed. And the more that we talk about it, talk about him, talk about the things that are going on, you're going to be having to put in a position where you have to decide, are you going to be quiet, or are you going to speak up? Because if you speak up, you might be able to lose your life. You actually might end up losing your actual life. And that's what it's boiling down to. Sad state of affairs, sad times that we're in, but nonetheless, it is where we are. And again, this is where we are. This is what the people that voted for him. So many of us, get so worked up. It's like, oh, this candidate doesn't represent everything that I want. I don't know any candidate that represents everything that I would want to happen in the world. I don't think there's no such thing as that. I don't see that for people. But what I do know is the fact that, again, we could have stuff where people are genuinely safe, that they have their basic needs. And we're not dealing with that right now. We're not dealing with that in the least of bits. So again, please stay vigilant. Don't get so bored or so upset about the fact that we, quote unquote, keep seeing things happening, that we're just at a point where we just get so stifled. We're coming so used to seeing it that you don't have a heart when you see it. That's the stuff that I don't want to see, because that's what they want. They want you to get tired. They want you to get frustrated. They want you to become so desensitized that now you're just like, you know what, whatever's going on, I don't care anymore. And I want us to not get to that level. I really do. I want us to not be at that level. So again, I'm back. I'm grateful. I feel good. I feel better. I got the rest that I needed. Let me tell you something about rest. When you don't get the rest you're supposed to take, God will put you, sat you down, like my mama would say, and make you get your rest. So I feel rejuvenated. I feel grateful. I'm just all the things. I'm grateful for my family, my friends that checked in on me. There was quite a few of you, so I don't need to go down this long list. If you checked on me, then you know you did what you needed to do. And if you didn't, know hard feelings. Like, everybody has a life, everybody has stuff going on. Like, listen, I'm a big girl. I'm good. Like, I'm not in that, when you go through these phases where you're like, my friends didn't do this and my friends didn't do that. I'm out of that stage at this point. And I just believe that whoever is supposed to be in my corner is supposed to be in my corner. But in the midst of all that, I do want to talk about something that I just discussed with my therapist. As I was discussing with my therapist about the grief and about my biological father's side, he was like, we never talked about it. And I'm surprised that we have never talked about him, but I also see why, because I feel like in many places where it deals with my biological father, I feel like I have healed a lot. And of course, healing is not linear. So there's plenty of times when there's the thought process of like the what ifs, and then, what should I do? Should I step in and do I need to make the effort? But I've gotten to the point where I've learned and respected the fact that, one, I've always been the child. I will always be the child, even though I am grown, and it's not my responsibility to do the reaching out. That's number one. Number two, I have come to grips with the fact that my biological father is the man and the mess of a man that he is. There's nothing but God that can change that. Like, I believe that we're all capable of change, 1000%. But if God doesn't intervene, there's nothing that I personally would be able to do to make this man do right. And he has several children. Like, my sister and I are not his only children. Not only that, but in the midst of this, he has other sets of twins. Like, he actually has another set of twins. My sister and I are twins. And then he has another set of twins. So, yeah, there is that. And again, I don't know how much I've said this in public spaces, or at least on this podcast, but I've had situations where my biological father has, he's made choices that lets me know that I didn't lose out on anything. I should say this. Because sometimes when you're a kid and you tell yourself of a story in your head about what he looks like and how he might be, and maybe it was my mom's fault that he didn't do whatever he needed to do. The reality is that I've come to the grips that actuality, that's not the case. I don't think there's anything that my mother could have done that would have made him be a better father. And I know some people are going to just say, well, you don't know the whole story. You're 100% correct. I don't. But when you talk to people's siblings, like I've talked to my aunt who passed, their children, some of his other siblings, and they're all like, girl, be blessed because you didn't miss out on anything. That's not necessarily a consolation prize, but I will say that it confirms that God took me out. It's like he took my sister and I away from that area so that we could be successful in our own right, because of the simple fact that had we stayed, there's nothing about our staying that, in my opinion, of course, God would have had his way. He could use you anywhere that you're at. But what I mean by that is that God had to take us away from that area so that we could have a life, because we would not have had the life or even a chance at a decent life had we stayed there. Now, again, I'm not talking bad about where I was born. I'm not talking bad about it. I'm just saying that normally and around that area, there's just a lot of people who make different decisions and choices for their life. And I believe that my life would have went a whole different way if my mother had not moved us away. And the man that has been presented to me, it's one thing for me as a child who could be quote unquote bitter, to say my thoughts about him, and even his other children, of whom, or my siblings, my half siblings that I've had plenty of conversations with, who have all let me know under no circumstances that, like, you won. If there was if there was something to win, if there was a prize to be won, then basically I quote unquote would have won. But in that same token, I didn't miss out. Like, the caliber of man that he decided to be, that he's choosing to be every single day. I pray that he gets to the point where he can become a better man, because my biological father is an older man. He's an older man. My aunt that just passed, she was 85 years old. Do the math. Okay. She's 85 years old, and he's up in age as well. So if his age and stage in life is not pushing him to be better, nothing in life will. Because I feel like, and this is just from my experience of like seeing it only from the outside looking in, the older that you get, you don't really have a lot of time to waste a lot of time. Like you don't get time is not on your, or was never on your side. Like it's not on anybody's side. But as you get older, you don't have a lot of life to play with. And so if being older for him isn't enough to wake him up and get him to be on the do better, nothing, and I absolutely mean nothing, is going to make him be better. And I just believe that with my whole chest, that nothing is going to make this man be better. So I was talking to my therapist about it, and he was just like, we didn't talk about it. So we just talked about, the thoughts around it. We talked about all those things, but it came back to the same conclusion. Like, this is a change that he has to do. He has to make a change. He has to decide what's important to him. He needs to decide that. There's nothing that I can do to wake him up. Like, grown people they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but that's usually because the old dog is not interested in learning anything. And so again, I pray peace for him, even though again, he didn't create peace in my life. I send love to him as a person, and pray that one day he would be better. I pray one day he would be better. I don't know when that day is, and I may not never see it, but I pray that when God calls him home, that he would call him home in peace. Because again, nothing can be changed on my side. God blessed me with an amazing stepfather who is present. Thank God for him being present. I will say that everything wasn't perfect, and there's a lot of things that could have been changed even with him, and there's a lot of things that could have been changed with my mom. I had to go to the realization, like, I don't want to hold grudges with my mom, because I felt like, again, as a child, I felt like, oh, she could have done more. She could have did this. She could have done that. Those are natural thoughts. I think most children go through those thoughts because you have to make up a story in your head. You legitimately are going to have to make a story up in your head about the absentee parent. When that parent is not absent, you can give a child all the love you want, but that child still wants to have the love of that absent parent. And this is why when single moms think that they're like, I love him, I'm doing all the things for him, I'm his mother and his father, I'm here to just let you know that even though you might be a dynamic parent, you might be the best mom that ever walked the earth, and there'll never be another parent or another mom better than you, I still want to serve notice on you that everything that your child goes through will still be a reflection of both you and that absent parent. That child is still going to suffer and go through things. They're still going to have their thought process around what things should, could, or would be. And I'm telling you now, because a lot of people just don't think that, but that is how this works. And so again, I just want to let everybody know, you'll never cover your child in enough love to take away the sting of the absent parent. But what you can do is, again, keep the communication open, because that's what's going to become the most important thing. Okay, so enough about my grief and what I was experiencing, the things I was going through, because as more of his siblings pass, it's more reality that one day I'm going to get a phone call that's going to tell me that he's no longer here. And then my thoughts around, okay, we didn't have a relationship, didn't do this and didn't do that, they're going to become very much real. And no matter how much I want to say that, oh no, I'm okay, I'm healed, that linear healing is going to pop its ugly head up when it comes down to that point, when I get that phone call, when my twin gets that phone call, when my siblings get that phone call. And wherever we are with whatever he's left us with, there's nothing can be done but God healing that. Like, there's nothing but God that can heal that, because absolutely that at that point, there's nothing left. So again, those are the things that I've been going through. That is what I've been experiencing. Those are the conversations I'm having with my therapist. And again, if you can get a therapist, I'm going to suggest, here's the thing about therapy. People think that therapy is just there in place for when like a tragedy happens. So this tragedy goes, something happens. And so now you feel obligated to, get this quote unquote help. The reality of it is you need to get therapy for all different things. There's 1,001 reasons to get therapy. You could get therapy because you're transitioning in life, where maybe you're going from one job to another, and you just want to get some closure. There could be 1,001 reasons as to why you would get therapy. If you can get therapy, I'm going to highly suggest that you do. Another thing I'm going to highly suggest that you do, if you are looking to get married, like let's say you're in your single era, and I love that for you, and you're like, you know what? I want to get married one day. The time to do that, to get therapy, isn't when you get in a relationship, it's prior to. Because there's a lot of things that we don't realize that happens in our life, that happens in our world, that will affect the way that we move. And we need to go ahead and get some therapy on that. So again, getting therapy isn't just when a tragedy happens. You don't just get therapy because somebody passed. You don't just get therapy because of these things. Get therapy and be proactive about the healing stages that you're in. Like, I think people forget that that's something that's an option. Like, you can actually just go and get some therapy ahead of time for the things that you may be struggling with, or just things that you are transitioning with, or just a confident boost. There's 1,001 reasons. So don't let lack of tragedy, quote unquote, stop you from getting that. But for today's topic, I want to talk about a conversation that I've seen on the good old Tickety Talks. And if you're on TikTok, you should know that the terms of service have just switched over. There's a lot of things that they are going to be able to, quote unquote, control. There's a lot of transparency that's going to need to be taking place on your part if you're going to continue to use the app. If you're not going to use the app any longer, then you don't need to worry about it. But just know that there are terms and changes that have taken place, and you're going to have to accept those terms and changes before you can continue to use the app. We knew that this day was going to come. It is officially now here. So with that being said, make sure that you read everything, understand it. And if you don't understand it, go ahead and do your research to try to find stories and conversations around it, because there's plenty of people talking about it. There's the wonderful ways in which you can get kind of like a general gist of what's happening on TikTok. But there was a story of a young woman on TikTok this week where her boyfriend and her were living separate. You know, she's living her life, he's living his, and he asked her to move in with him. He asked her to move in with him. So they're living together. And then after a while, she started noticing that he's starting to repost things. You know, we always repost things. We should repost things in our story. We repost things on TikTok. We repost those things on Instagram, all the things. So some of his reposts started to come out where it was like, it was sending signals as if he was feeling unappreciative and that she wasn't doing enough. And she just was like, you know, becoming problematic. Now, that doesn't mean that this was exclusive to her. So because she wasn't sure if it was exclusive to her and it was just the stuff that he was reposting, she asked him, hey, what's with these reposts? What's going on? Like, if there's something we need to talk about, like, I would prefer, you know, let's go ahead and have that conversation. Let's go ahead and have that conversation so we can make sure that we're on the same team. Well, he says to her, you are a headache and you are getting on my nerves. Okay. She said, bet. So he doesn't want to communicate about the repost that he's putting in private in public spaces. I think people forget that when you repost things, that people can see what you're reposting. People can see what you're sharing. Again, I just want to preface, the internet is not necessarily a place where you feel like it's not a place where you can just do what you want to do and nobody will ever see it. It's really not that it's not on that type of time. And so when he told her that she was a headache and she was a problem, she said, okay, cool. No worries. So she did what she felt she needed to do. And she went and started to do the process of moving out. Yeah. She decided she was going to go on ahead and she was going to get the heck out of Dodge and she was going to start moving out, because you're not going to tell somebody that they're a headache. Like, I think a lot of people expect to say things out of their mouths without any type of consequence. Like, if you're feeling some type of way, then hey, it is what it is. But when she got word that he had this alleged headache, she said, I'll make sure that you have the headache that you'll never recover from. And she decided to secretly move out. So it came on his birthday where she was already in the process of moving out. And she goes about her way to go ahead and move out. And on his birthday, she's, walking out the door now. And he's like, hey, what's happening? What's going on? Why are you not here? And she's like, listen, I don't have time for the back and forth. I came to you and said to you that, I wanted to talk about this communication. And you basically said that somebody was giving you a headache. And she said, no, we run a strict program. I said this before. A lot of y'all, especially the dating world, is saying that we run a strict program over here, which means simply like, hey, we're not letting certain things slide. Like, we're going to be about our business. We're not going to, we're going to be, we're going to do all the things that, in our opinion, that needs to be done. Okay, cool. But are you truly running a strict business over there. Like, are you really running a strict program? Are you really? Because this young lady was standing on all the business. Like, she was on all the business. So she decided to move, because you can't have somebody move in with you, think that because you're paying the bills, this now opens up Pandora's box, that now you're going to say what you want, you're going to do what you want, and there's no issues. And when she tried again, she attempted to talk and he didn't. She decided that this was not worth her argument. Just wasn't worth her headache. So now this man is upset because she decided to leave. And in the midst of her leaving, again, her conversation was very much on the up and up, that she just decided she was not staying, and she left. And he was upset because, one, he was upset because she left, and then she left on his birthday. And so she was just of the mindset of, I'm not dealing with this. I'm over this. I got to go. And two, because if you want to have a conversation with your significant other, a lot of men, they have this thing, and I won't just call it a men thing. I'll just say a lot of people, so we don't get caught up in it's a man thing, it's a woman thing. But a lot of people get upset that they don't want to have conversations. They're like, listen, I don't want to talk about that. And it's one thing to say, I don't want to talk about it right now, but there's another thing to be like, I don't want to talk at all. And you're living in a live-in person in your house. You don't get to call somebody a headache and then say they're a headache. Oh, if I'm a headache, I'm going to help you, because I don't feel like living in this type of situation. So again, I say she wrote out. Now, again, he was upset that she left, and like I said, she stood on business and she rode. I appreciate the fact that she did it, because so many people, women and men, they get upset by the things that their partner says. And if this is his communication style, that's going to be a problem for the future. Like, I need everybody to understand why this is more of a significant issue, because when your partner gets upset with you, they're entitled to be upset with you. Like, we're not doing that where we're like, oh, you're not allowed to be upset. No, you're allowed to be upset. But if you live with a person, you have to find some level of way to communicate. You can't just be like, I don't feel like talking to you, so now I'm done, because that's behavior that you probably could pull if and when you were living in separate homes, right? You can go to your spot, he goes to his. But when you tell somebody you're a problem, and I don't feel like dealing with this, but you're posting all these things that's contrary. When people start to tell you what they are telling you, and they're saying what they need to say, Maya Angelou has been telling us this for 1,001 years. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. She went on ahead and believed him that first time, and that allowed her to be like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dip on them. I'm going to go ahead and leave, because again, we don't believe people the first time. When your partner is telling you that they're not interested and they don't want to do whatever it is that may be going on, you got to believe them. Like, start believing people the first time. I remember seeing a story on TikTok where this man had told this girl like how he was just like, I don't like doing the things that you do. Okay, my husband and I don't like doing the things that each other likes to do. However, we do enjoy watching each other be happy. So like, my husband's into like Power Rangers and all that stuff. That's not necessarily my thing. Like, me and Power Rangers, that's not me, right? I'm just not my thing. However, I support his love for watching it. When he goes to the conference, he has himself a great time, right? Has a great time. When I do stuff that I enjoy, he enjoys watching me do it, so he supports the things that I'm doing. But the day that my husband tells me, oh, you know what, I don't want to do none of the stuff you want to do. Like, I don't want to support none of the stuff that you're doing. I don't want to do that. I'm tired of you. I'm sick of you. I'm sick of you to the point where I don't feel like being around you. I'm going to help you. Because again, we hear people talk real dusty and raggedy to each other, and then we act like they're just joking. And if somebody says, oh, I was just playing, now I'm gonna tell you one thing, that's one thing that gets underneath my skin. I'm like Kevin Hart, say it with your chest, because the second you start saying stuff and then you double back on I'm just playing, I can almost guarantee you that you and I are not going to get along, because I'm going to try to believe you, because that's just where I'm at. I'm not going to play this little tiddlywink game where you say something and I'm not supposed to act like I don't know. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do it. Now, I don't know what nobody else is going to do, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. And yet and still, there's still room for us to have disagreements. And there are times when couples say things that they say things that we're not going to say they say things they don't mean. No, they meant it. They meant it at that moment. But you got to ask yourself if this is okay. You got to understand, you got to set your own personal boundaries. You don't get married. You don't get in a relationship. You don't get connected to somebody. And then the boundaries just get to be whatever they want. People cannot disrespect you and continue to talk to you any type of way. And that goes from me to my husband and my husband back to me. You can't just do what you want to do in the name of marriage and then say it's okay. You better figure out what your boundary is, and your boundaries are allowed to change, but I'm going to encourage you to communicate that change to your partner. And then once you've communicated to them and then they're just like, you know what, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, then you got to figure this out. Like I've had a situation, whether it's my husband now or in other relations that I've been in, where they're like, I'm done with you. Okay. I need you to then be done with me and then be done with me in all things. I need you to truly be done with it, because what I've been doing and what I've been hearing for 2026 is we're going to listen more and we're going to talk less. We're going to listen more, but we're going to talk less, because sometimes we allow our emotions to speak for us. But reality is we ain't really ready to stand on business. But I'm telling you, I'm encouraging, especially my women. I need you to listen to what your partner is saying, because sometimes you're sleeping in the bed with the enemy every single day. Too many of us are sleeping in the enemy, and I say us as just a conglomerate, but too many of us are sleeping with the enemy every single day and then acting like we didn't know the enemy told us. Like the enemy be telling you the plans. They tell you exactly what they're going to do. They took the cards face up, and you, just because you're so in love, you act as if you don't know what your partner is doing, but not that young lady. She said, I'm up and out. This man got so in his feelings. He called her. She wouldn't answer. He called her sibling, or I think it was her brother, and the brother was like, look, I ain't got nothing to do with all that. Then she called her parents. Now, here's the conversation that went with the parents. He called her parents and said, your daughter left. She did this and that. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I didn't communicate. I want to fix it. Her mother called her and was like, listen, that's a good man. You know, he's done so many good things for you. You know, you should really consider, you know, this shouldn't be a deal breaker, because if I left every time your father disrespected me, you wouldn't be here. The daughter said, well, then I probably shouldn't be here. Now, she wasn't being disrespectful. She's just saying you probably should have considered yourself before bringing a child into that, right? And the young lady said, she said, I'm a daddy's girl. I love my father, but their marriage always suffered because of the things that he would do. Now, not to say that the mother didn't do stuff too, but what the daughter was saying was she was not accepting the stuff that she saw her dad put her mom through, and she was doing some changes and she wasn't allowing certain things to slip. So where her mother might have been like, that's acceptable, we worked through it. And I'm tired of y'all with these struggle love coming on here. And listen, if your anniversary, list your anniversary message on Facebook and things starts off, I'm so sorry for all the things I did to my wife, I did to my husband, I put them through so much, but they're still here. The second you open your mouth with that, I did too much, but they're still here stuff, I tell you, to me, it's literally off-putting, because I don't want to be the strongest soldier in the relationship for our relationship to work. I did not sign up for the strongest soldier. Now, this is not to say that I'm up and leaving just because things look bad. What I'm telling you, when things look bad to me, I'm talking about, are you willing to stay with somebody because they lost their job? If they got sick, are you willing to take care of them? Those are things that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about mistreatment of a person and because of the sake of love and the sake of marriage or relationship that I stay. I need us to listen more and talk less. I have been listening. I've been writing certain things down. Like, we got our phones on us all the time. When my husband says certain things and it stings me, I write it down. I have a nice little note and I write it down. Now, here's the thing. In the Bible, it talks about in 1 Corinthians, it says love does not keep score, basically. I'm not writing these things down so that I can use it, throw it back into him in a conversation. I'm writing it down and writing it down in real time so I can dissect that. What did he mean when he said this? And here's the thing. I need you to go back and ask him, hey, you made this statement and I would like to know what you meant by that. Get clarity from the rip. Rip the Band-Aid off and ask the question, hey, when you said A, B, and C, what did you mean by that? Because in asking that and getting clarity instead of allowing it to brew in your mind, because once you start allowing your head to play part in it, it's not going to be a good situation. So ask the questions early. Hey, what did you mean by that? I would love to know what you meant when you said A, B, and C, because I would like to know so I can know what I need to do with that information. And here's the thing. Don't write it down to take course, but write it down, because write down what you heard, write down what you felt, and then address it with that person. Hey, when you said that, can you explain that? Okay, when you said that, this made me feel like A, B, and C. Was that your intended purpose? When your partner says yes, ma'am, sir, whomever, Stop acting as if that they was just sorry because you brought it up to their attention. Let me explain something to you. I'm going to explain this to you, and it's going to sound off and crazy, but I mean it with everything that I got to say. Once you ask for clarity and they stand on business that that's what they meant, and then they say, okay, this is how I felt about it, and this is what I meant for it to feel. Because sometimes your partner will tell you, like, I meant for you to, I wanted you to feel that. Oh, I meant for you to hurt. Like I said it so that you, when they say things like that, stop giving them a pass, baby. Stop giving them a pass. Wrap this up by noon and stop giving a pass. Everybody can't just roll out and leave. But I saw another story on TikTok where the lady planned her divorce in 3 years. She played it cool and she was prepared for her divorce. It took her 3 years. She planned it. Now he filed, but she was preparing in the background. Stop letting your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Some of y'all just be talking. You want that person to know you tired. If you were so tired, baby, you wouldn't even have talked. You would have just started making moves. Because tired people don't use that energy to make an uproar. They use that energy to get the heck out of Dodge. Okay. I want us to listen more and talk less, please. Because some of y'all talking about you have a strict program. You ain't running the program as strict as you think that you are. And the sad part is that your partner knows you ain't running a strict program. And because you're not running a strict enough program and your partner knows you're not running a strict enough program, that's why they get more and more slick out of their mouth and they disrespect you because they want to see what your tolerance level is. And some of y'all tolerance levels is too high for the stuff you say you don't like. And when you allow a person to treat you, say something the first time. Stop letting that stuff well up and then getting mad about the situation because the only person you could be mad at is yourself. When they disrespect you, speak up the first time. I get it. We were taught as kids that we don't need to speak up and we watched our parents, our mothers, our fathers eat things that they shouldn't have ate. But I'm telling you right now, you have the power to change a generation. When I think about the situations that going on in my house, I think about my daughters. I think about my son. Would I want my daughters to be in a situation that I was in? And would I be okay with that? Would I be okay with my daughters going through something, whatever it is that I'm going through, if I was going through something? Would I want my daughters to go through that? Because if the answer is no, I got to make a decision. I got to be a generational changer. And sometimes that may cause you to have to do a little bit of uproar, but you got to decide, is your peace worth it? Because I'm going to tell you right now, it's worth it. It may not pan out. It may have its bumps and bruises as you're trying to get to that place. But when Taraji P. Henson said that her peace was so important to her and how much her peace cost, I've never heard it more and more like I heard it that day. But she meant business. You need to make your peace needs to be expensive. We keep giving it up. That girl keep giving it up and giving it away and doing the most. Like, make it expensive. So get a strict program. 2026 is going to be time out. Listen, it's time out. This world is winding up and winding down. We don't got that much time to be out here just letting people outwardly, just downright showing up to the guttermost, disrespect you. But you also going to be prepared that you might have to make some moves alone. And I know that's probably the scariest part. People don't want to be alone. And I get it. I get it. Like, you didn't start off to be in a relationship to be by yourself. I get all those things. But you got to make sure that you open yourself up to just being and having good conversations about things. Because the more and more you allow things to slip and slide like you on a water park, the more and more that people are going to just take advantage. And I'm tired of seeing people being taken advantage of stuff that we can control. I want us to get on somebody's do better so that we can do the things that need to be done in our own lives. All right, since Snowmageddon, as they're calling it, is on the way, there's a couple things that you need to do. First, yes, get to the grocery store, do those things, get the food in the home, because, again, I don't think we're going to be down and out for the count forever, but we will be down for a significant amount of time. Even if that's 24 to 48 hours, 24 and 48 hours is more than enough time to wreak havoc. Another thing that people are not concerned with, outside of staying in and being all snuggled up and drinking wine and eating food, is the fact that, God forbid, the power goes out. God forbid all these other things happen. You need to be prepared. So again, make sure you have enough batteries for flashlights if you have them. Charge up all of your chargers. I plan to place we have, it's a content creator house in here. So we have a lot of fast chargers that we have. I plan to place every fast charger on a charger so that everything is at full speed ahead. Making sure that laptops, anything that we might need to use as communication, all those things, I'm going to make sure that they are ready to go and that they have enough power so that everything can be done that needs to be done. What else? Make sure that you need to go to the doctors or you need to go to get your medicine refilled. Go ahead and get that refilled because, again, if you can't go somewhere, the wrong time to discover that you're out on a medicine that you need for sure, is not when the snow is already on the ground and you can't physically get out. Now, around Philadelphia, and I'm sure this is going to be a thing that's going on forward, a lot of the quote unquote ice or salt, I should say, not ice, but salt is already out. If you can get a bag of salt and you need a bag of salt, grab a bag of salt. Also, make sure you have things like ibuprofen, Tylenol, cold medicine, things that you are going to possibly need so that if you get, sick or anything happens, you just have the bare bone basics. So make sure you have medication refilled. Also, if you're able, consider going to the store and getting things for the elder people around you in your community. We live in a block where we have quite a few older people that live on our block. And so we are making sure that every last one of them has the basics. Like, hey, do you need milk? Do you need eggs? Do you need whatever it is? Because again, the goal is to look out for other people. Community building is something everybody can do. You don't got to have a lot of money to do it. If you have a car, you can go pick up some things. Go ahead and pick up some things. Go ahead and do that. Try your best to not panic. There's a lot of things that could happen. There's a lot of things that might not happen, but the one thing you can control is your emotions. A lot of times in impending snowstorms, your anxiety levels go up, and I think it's intended to go up because of the fact that everybody's like, just like I'm trying to tell you, oh, get prepared, get ready. These are very normal things, but you got to try to control your emotions. Make sure you have enough activities, books, notebooks, coloring things for children, for yourself, so that you don't go stir crazy. I don't think this is going to be a situation where we're going to be in the home for a week or a week at a time, or we're going to be at home for a full week or anything like that. I mean, I'm not against such things. Like, I like being at home, but I don't think it's going to be that. But what I will say is that it's going to take some time for everybody to get dug out of their homes, to get dug out of where they're at, and to lead whatever their quote unquote normal life would be. That, I do believe, is the truth. With that being said, just take care of yourself and try to make sure that you have the basic needs. Make sure you check in on others. Start a phone chain. Make sure everybody, again, whatever you can do to prepare. If you have, like, I have family members that don't live here in the city or even the state, but like my grandmother, I made sure, like, does she need anything? If I can send a Instacart to her so she can get the basic needs, those are things that I can do. Again, it does not take a lot of money to have built community, and so whatever the little things that you can do, you might think that they're little, they could be huge things that you could do to try to take care of all the things, because it is important for us to be vigilant in helping other people. And yeah, that's it. That's what we're going to do to prepare the storm. If you need to go out, if you do drink and you want to go out and get you a couple bottles, go ahead and do that. We went to the grocery store last night, and so the grocery store near us closes at 11 p.m. We went at 10:05, got out at 10:48, and put the groceries away. We did great. We did a list together. We used, I use my phone for all the things. And so, of course, no issue with making sure that we use that phone to make a list, and we went in that list and we conquered and divided, and we got everything that we needed to get done. And I actually prefer going to the grocery store at 10 o'clock before they close, because one, is quieter, people are more focused, and you're not lollygagging. Like, you're in there doing what the attendant need is, you're getting what you got to get, and you're getting the heck out of Dodge. So we got our groceries. I will make a liquor store run because we drink around here, and I will make sure that we have all the things that we need to do whatever it is that we're choosing to do. We made sure that our kids have more than enough. Every kid in this house has some form of electronics. Even some of them have more than one. So again, we're good. We have plenty of books, plenty of notebooks, plenty of pens and markers. We have paint. We have construction paper. We have things for them to be creative. They have their own little things that they like to do for their own levels of creativity. I think each kid has something that they like to do, and they have a space in the home for them to do it. And so with that being said, I think we're going to be okay. I'm hoping that everybody's going to be safe. Everybody's going to be good to go. Nobody's heat is going to go out. Everybody's water is going to be on. All the things, because these are basic needs. These are completely basic needs. But we want to make sure that we have everything. So if you're going to run a strict program this year, listen more and talk less and get real strict about your emotions. Also control your emotions to a certain degree too. Get emotional regulation, because having emotional regulation will help you decipher what's real and what's not. Having emotional regulation too will help when it comes to deciding if your partner is actually being a partner, or if you need to decide to not be a partner. I'm not trying to break up people's marriages. I'm not trying to break up people's relationships. What I am saying is that we spend a lot of time with one-on-one with people who don't mean us well, and it's going to be time for us to make some decisions. Hard decisions have to be made sometimes in life, and that's just where we are. That's just what it is. So I pray that you have nothing but the most peace that you could possibly have, because again, life is too short to not. And other than that, thank you for listening to this week's podcast. Again, I'm glad to be back. I believe this might be, I have to check on this, but this might be the last episode for this season. And then we're going to go right into a new season. So I'll check back. If you hear me say this is season 14, then that would be season 14. But we are in season 13 right now. Grateful for your listening ears. Thank you for running the numbers up. Thank you for just doing all the things. Please share this podcast with someone else. Have the most amazing weekend. Take care of yourself. If you're in the storm path, make sure other people around you are taken care of. Continue to build community. And again, take care of yourself. And I'll be back with you next Friday for Conversations with Toi.
Thank you as always for joining me. And I know that even in the deepest or joyful conversations, that there's something we can learn and apply. Until next time, I hope that you are doing better. If not, we will be back to talk some more and handle it. Peace to you and yours. Stay grounded.